Muronda stood by the side as he looked at Li Moying, winking at him. Moying, aren't you coming over to apologize to Sect Master Cui? Muronda now understood that Li Lingchuan could not be saved, but there wasn't much influence if he gave up on this hopeless second disciple. Now the greatest news was Li Moying had came back to life. As long as Li Moying was around, Celestial Light Sect's future would be boundless, so even if 1,000 Li Lingchuans died, there wasn't any influence at all. Hence when Cui Yuanshan dabbled in the situation based on his reason to capture Li Lingchuan to hand over to Ling family, he didn't object too violently. But now that Li Moying was going up against Cui Yuanshan, things were not good. If Cui Yuanshan exploded and heavily injured Li Moying, then that would be Celestial Light Sect's irrevocable damage. That was why Muronda hurriedly jumped out to ease the situation. Cui Yuanshan saw Muronda jumping out and thinking that he had not brought any men along, hence he could only let things go. He placed his hands behind his back and gave a cold humph as he said, "All right, since Sect Master Murong put it in this way, how could this Sect Master haggle with a junior? As long as young Sect Master Li apologizes sincerely, then I can let this matter rest." When Muronda heard that, he winked even harder at Li Moying, so much that his eyeballs were about to drop out. Alas, Li Moying totally ignored him as the ridicule beneath his eyes was even stronger. This is not a misunderstanding. This seat has already made it clearly, Li Lingchuan must die under my hands. Cui Yuanshan simply did not believe what he had heard. Under his coercive suppression, Li Moying actually remained so resolute, without any sense of wanting to step back. Must you go against this sect master? Cui Yuanshan's face turned green. The profound energy in his body had started to gather and his aura kept on increasing as the air started to be charged with an intense wind attribute profound energy. If it was an ordinary 7th stage realm practitioner, he would have been lying limp on the ground. No matter how much determination he had, there was no way that he could control his own actions under such a powerful suppression. But Li Moying merely replied indifferently, "Talking so much rubbish, either you scram or strike." The public square turned completely silent. No one had expected that Li Moying actually dared to provoke the long-established 9th stage realm practitioner, Cui Yuanshan, in such a way. Did he really want to die? Or had he gone insane? No matter how excellent his innate talent was, there was no possibility of him being able to block a move from Cui Yuanshan. Now he had even incited Cui Yuanshan to make a move. Was he, in a hurry to reincarnate? Cui Yuanshan stared intently at Li Moying's eyes. Good, you're very good. This sect master shall let you experience what is known as a genuine 9th stage realm practitioner. You must know what kind of price you must pay for provoking the strong. Muronda's expression changed abruptly as he cried out sharply, "Li Moying, what nonsense are you sprouting? Quickly shut your mouth." But saying anything now was just too late. Right after Cui Yuanshan said 3 good words, the profound energy within his body started pouring out in torrents as it gathered into a wind blade striking towards Li Moying's head. He had been completely angered and no matter what, he was a sect master. To be provoked by a junior in such a way, his face had been completely lost. You can also listen on. If he didn't make Li Moying pay a painful price, then where would his face be placed? Towards wind-attributed practitioners, Wind Blade was an extremely ordinary profound skill, but under the drive of a 9th stage realm's torrential profound energy, the air gathered in mid-air into blade images but was extraordinarily strong as though it could tear the entire heaven and earth apart. Wind-attributed energy revolved around the sharp blade bearing a devastating stance in everyone's heart. Wind-attributed practitioners' speed were extremely swift and it only took a flash before it was just inches away from Li Moying. Heavens! Li Moying is a goner. Too terrifying, so this is a 9th stage realm practitioner's potential. He could simply call upon the wind and summon rain, totally not something that ordinary people like us could imagine. Finished, Li Moying he, amidst the cries, many of them were so afraid that they covered their eyes, especially for those young ladies who secretly admired Li Moying, they didn't dare to see him being cut into half by the wind blade. Murongde hurriedly struck out in an attempt to save him. But his potential was originally much weaker than Cui Yuanshan, and adding on to the speed which a wind-attributed practitioner had, not to mention that Cui Yuanshan had suddenly struck. Under various elements, Murongde's profound energy missed the wind blade, and he could only watch with his eyes open at the blade which had sliced open the space as it landed onto the top of Li Moying's head. He drew in a breath of cold air. However, the image which was in his mind did not appear. Li Moying was facing an abruptly descended wind blade, but he totally made no signs of attempting to evade it. In fact, he didn't even bother to put out a defensive stance. It was until the wind blade was right on top of his head when he moved slightly as he raised his hand up. A blue-purplish streak of lightning violently flashed, instantly attracting thunder. A loud boom sound reverberated, and the explosive sound rang above celestial light sect as a bolt of lightning split opened heaven and earth, forming a line with the thunder light in Li Moying's palm. This bolt of lightning was simply too bright, and many practitioners of weaker cultivation were blinded the moment that lightning lit up as their eyes started tearing, totally unable to see anything. Whereas for practitioners with higher cultivations, they could only barely see that bolt of lightning which suddenly released a powerful amount of energy, clashing fiercely against Cui Yuanshan's wind blade. An intense explosion sounded. Raging wind and electric currents started to land on the public square, causing torrents of miserable shrieks. After a moment later, the explosive repercussions then slowly subsides as those practitioners who had gone dizzy from the effect could barely pick themselves up, raising their heads to look at the situation on the stage. Celestial Light Sect's VIP seats had been blown away. Amid the mayhem, Li Moying and Cui Yuanshan were at a distance of 10 meters away from each other. Cui Yuanshan's condition was far from good. His face was pale and his entire face was filled with dust and ash, and the protection armor which he wore was blasted into shreds with multiple wounds on his body as it kept on seeping out blood. His eyes were wide open as he displayed an expression of disbelief as he used his finger and pointed towards Li Moying's direction. As he did that, his entire body started trembling uncontrollably. You, how is it possible? How is this possible? Li Moying shot a glance at him coldly. Why is it not possible? Cui Yuanshan seemed as though he had suffered a huge blow as he started to talk incoherently. How could you, possibly? I am in 9th stage realm. How could you possibly block it? Impossible. Li Moying's icy cold voice was heard. Haven't you seen it for yourself? This is of course because my cultivation is also in the 9th stage realm. You can also listen on. 9th stage realm. What is young sect Master Li talking about? Have I heard wrongly? Pinch me quickly. Hearing what Li Moying said, those practitioners who had finally started to quieten down all started to shriek as all of them felt that they had developed hallucination. However, when they turned their gazes towards Li Moying, all of their questions were all stuffed back at their faces. Li Moying stood there firmly as his gaze was cold and penetrating, with his tall statue standing upright like a mountain as it was impenetrable. His aura kept on increasing as his profound energy fluctuation which was emitted started to become stronger and stronger. Overbearing profound energy suppression enveloped the entire public square, even pushing Cui Yuanshan's unleashed profound energy back, totally suppressing him until it couldn't be felt. This kind of powerful and pure profound energy clearly answered the question, which was: Li Moying had genuinely crossed into the line of the 9th stage realm. Cui Yuanshan's pupils slightly contracted as his gaze which was fixed onto Li Moying was as though he had seen a ghost in broad daylight. 9th stage realm, it really is the 9th stage realm, heavens. Young sect Master Li had actually advanced into the 9th stage realm. This. Isn't this a little too ridiculous? If I hadn't recalled wrongly, he's only 21 years old this year. A 21-year-old 9th stage realm, terrifying, too terrifying. The #1 top expert, Mu Qingying, in Soaring Heaven's Continent then was over 30 years old when he advanced into 9th stage realm, and that was Soaring Heaven's Continent's fastest record of advancing into 9th stage realm. Looks like this record is broken by young sect Master Li. It's far more than broken. It has totally been shrunk by a huge chunk. How on earth did he do it? Public Square exploded into a bustle as everyone used a mixed gaze of shock, fear and adoration as they looked at Li Moying. Since the moment he stepped into 9th stage realm, he was no longer the so-called genius, but a genuine peerless top exponent. All the people present were no longer in a possibility of being put on the same level to be compared. Not only the disciples from other sects, even everyone in Celestial Light sect were dazed beyond words. Eldest senior brother. Eldest senior brother is too powerful. This simply is too ridiculous. I thought that I had already gained enough understanding on eldest senior brother's powerfulness, but it's only until now that I realized that all I've seen were just a tip of the iceberg. Is he still a human? Even Murongdo was completely dazed. As Li Moying's master, he should be clearest towards his own disciples' innate talent, but now he realized that this Li Moying right in front of him was someone whom he totally didn't recognize. He had merely just entered the cloudy Qilan mystic region once and only for slightly over 2 months, but he had actually broken through 2 large realms consecutively. This was not using just a simple word, genius, to describe him. Under everyone's dumbstruck look, Li Moying inclined his head to the side as he told Mo Yi, "Go get Li Lingchuan, we should get going." Mo Yi hurriedly responded as he and Mo Air went up to grab hold of Li Lingchuan. Mo Yi and Mo Air were merely at 6th stage realm cultivation and were slightly weaker than Li Lingchuan. Originally, if they went up to capture him, Li Lingchuan would absolutely not wait to be captured. But earlier, after witnessing Li Moying's astonishing ability, Li Lingchuan was so shocked that he laid limp on the ground as a smelly stench of urine flowed out from his pants, stinking the entire place. Facing the icy cold expressionless shadow guards, he didn't dare to resist against them. You can also listen on. Mo Yi and Mo Air didn't use much effort as they used the immortal binding rope to tie him up. But just as they were about to drag him away, Cui Yuanshan suddenly regained his senses. He shot upwards like an arrow and cried out sharply towards the both of them, "Move aside. Who allowed you to snatch this person away from this sect master?" Mo Yi and Mo Air were intimidated by a 9th stage realm practitioner's profound energy, and instantly the blood in their chests started churning, causing them to almost throw up blood, but they didn't even take a step back. Cui Yuanshan was exasperated and was about to strike out at them to teach them a lesson, but Li Moying waved his sleeve at a suitable timing as a burst of profound energy shot across silently to dispel Cui Yuanshan's intentional suppression. "Sect Master Cui, the outcome is already clear, and if you continue to tangle in this way, does that mean that you don't even want her face anymore?" Li Moying's cold voice was heard at a speed which was not too fast nor too slow. But every single word which he said was thought to infuriate anyone to death alive. Cui Yuanshan's face was flushed as he shouted out loudly, "WH. What outcome is already clear? Stop plastering gold onto your face. Earlier it was because this sect master had underestimated you, thinking that you've just in the 7th stage realm, hence I didn't put in any actual power. Did you think that you could win this sect master? In actual fact, if it was just based on that move earlier, the winner and loser was already extremely obvious. Both parties had a face-to-face profound energy clash, and in the end, Cui Yuanshan was thrown 10 over feet away, even sustaining a moderate internal injury, whereas Li Moying was totally unharmed as he still had surplus energy. Anyone with eyes knew just who had a stronger ability. However, Cui Yuan-shan could not accept this reality, or rather, any established ninth stage realm practitioner who thought themselves as extraordinary were all unable to accept that they were actually defeated so easily by a 20-year-old junior in just one move. This was his lifetime's goal in cultivation, which he was pursuing after, and his arrogance and pride as an established top exponent was completely shattered. So Cui Yuan-shan kept on hypnotizing himself that Li Moying was able to defeat himself was all because he had underestimated him. That move earlier used at most 60% of his profound energy, and he had not even used any profound skill, so it did not represent his genuine strength. Hence he was defeated was just a coincidence. But Cui Yuan-shan had not thought that as an established old-timer top exponent, yet all he was thinking of was to use his full strength and resorted to all methods to fight with Li Moying before he could even obtain a sliver of possible victory. This itself had already shown clearly the difference between both parties' ability. Li Moying heard Cui Yuan-shan boasting shamelessly as his lips curled up slightly and sneered, "Since you're in a hurry to die, then why not let this seat take a look at how much ability do you really have?" When he said this, everyone was all disheveled in the wind. Li Moying's sentence in that tone, no matter what it should be a senior saying such words to a junior, right? Why did it feel as though the situation was reversed? He in Cui Yuan-shan's position seemed to have turned topsy-turvy. The bystanders who heard that were astonished, whereas Cui Yuan-shan was so angry that his 7 orifices were fuming with smoke. "You, Li Moying, you're simply seeking death." Before his last word left his mouth, Cui Yuan-shan's face suddenly turned pale as his mouth opened wide in shock. Li Moying's feet moved and took a step forward. Just a small step, and his surrounding aura had once again ascended as it instantly expanded rapidly by 1-fold. Thunder-attributed energy in the surrounding 10 miles were all wildly gushing towards him as the air was filled with electric currents, giving off crackling noises. You can also listen on. Cui Yuan-shan's eyes widened. At this moment, right in front of him, he absolutely wasn't some talented junior who had just stepped into the 9th stage realm's door. On the contrary, the peerless strong exponent in front of him had easily controlled the electric current's power and his surroundings' heaven and earth energy, which was extremely complex and hard to handle, but he made it seem so easy and simply done as he wished. This was absolutely something which an established strong exponent who had genuinely combat experience could achieve. "Who on earth are you?" Cui Yuan-shan's question was raised, but before he could finish asking, Li Moying's brows rose and he moved in an instant. Overbearing thunder-attributed profound energy gathered into bursts of thin electric currents, and following a lift of his finger, it struck towards Cui Yuan-shan's chest. This bolt of lightning was extremely minute, and as compared to the last time the both of them crossed hands, that terrifying lightning which tore the sky apart became an obvious comparison. However, Cui Yuan-shan sensed that this bolt of non-exceptional lightning contained even more powerful energy, which was even more than that lightning which blinded their eyes. This bolt of lightning came extremely quickly. Even if Cui Yuan-shan was a wind-attributed practitioner, in terms of this speed, he was still too late. It took merely a thought and the lightning had already reached him, and Cui Yuan-shan exhausted everything he could to take precaution as he expedited all the profound energy he had to protect his physical body. However, it was all in vain. A soft pfff was heard. Li Moying's electric currents easily tore apart Cui Yuan-shan's protection profound qi, directly entering his body. Cui Yuan-shan cried out miserably as his entire body was sent flying out towards the public square's direction. He flew for a couple of 100 meters before crashing heavily into the crowd, causing a bustle of chaos. By the time Green Cloud's sex disciples hastily passed through the crowd to render aid, they only saw a charred body on the ground. If it wasn't for the fact that he was still twitching occasionally, they really thought that he had already become a charred corpse. Whereas on Li Moying's face, he still bore the biting cold expression, without even a crease in his brow. It was as though defeating Cui Yuan Shan, who was considered a rather strong practitioner who was in the 9th stage realm with one move, wasn't something extraordinary and couldn't even stir any emotions within his heart. He couldn't even be bothered to say a word more as he raised his hand and waved. Moe and Mo Air, who were behind him, immediately reciprocated as they went up to drag Li Lingchuan. This time round, no one else dared to jump out to object. Li Lingchuan was already foaming at his mouth as he laid limp on the ground, totally unconscious, just short of being scared to death alive. Murongde, on the other hand, had his eyes opened wide as he stared fixedly on Li Moying. No one was clearer than Murongde on just how strong was Cui Yuan Shan's ability. In the recent years, he and Cui Yuan Shan had been pairing against each other, and out of so many times, Murongde had never gained victory at all. But such a powerful top exponent wasn't even able to take a strike from his disciple. This, really was reality. After Moe trussed Li Lingchuan up, he returned back to standing behind Li Moying. Li Moying frowned as he said impatiently, Murong Fei as well. Bring them away together. Moe shuddered as he hurriedly headed up to capture her. When Murong Fei heard that, she immediately shrieked, Eldest senior brother, Mayor, mercy. Don't catch me, don't kill me. I really had not thought about harming you at all. It's Li Lingchuan and Lang Yifeng, they forced me. I know my mistake, I'm begging you to take account of my father and spare me, please. You can also listen on. On seeing Li Moying's cold expression with an unwavering emotion, she hurriedly looked towards Murongde. Father, father. Quick, save me, save me. As long as you say a word, eldest senior brother will definitely listen to you. I really have never harmed eldest senior brother before. Murong Fei had never felt such terror before. In actual fact, it wasn't only just her. When everyone present took a look at Li Moying, their gazes were mixed in between shock and terror. Even a top exponent like Cui Yuan Shan had been defeated by him in just one move, not knowing if he was still alive or dead. Just what kind of ability was that? And how conceited and overbearing he was. No matter how Murong Fei had offended Li Moying in the past, she knew that she had a backing behind her, knowing that he felt grateful towards Murongde for saving him and he wouldn't really kill her. But today, not knowing why, Murong Fei had an unspeakable fear in her heart, somehow feeling that Li Moying seemed to have changed into someone else. Murongde was originally in a daze from the shock, and upon hearing his eldest daughter screeching loudly, he regained his senses. He hurriedly blocked Moe and turned his head towards Li Moying. Moying, your abilities have advanced by leaps and bounds so suddenly, you must had some fortuitous meeting in the cloudy Qilin mystic region, right, which is also considered as a blessing in disguise. Your junior sister, she absolutely wouldn't intentionally do anything to harm you. You should know that for so many years, she had always had feelings for you. If she had offended you in any way, it definitely must be unintentional, so on account of this, master, please let her off this time. That's right, eldest senior brother, I'm wrong, Murong Fei apologized profusely. When Murongde opened his mouth, Murong Fei then somewhat felt assured. No matter what, for so many years, Li Moying had basically never rejected any of Murongde's requests, and every time Murong Fei or Murong Inai had caused any trouble, he had also not bothered to haggle with them. But, this time, Li Moying's icy cold gaze swept past Murong Fei's face. Let her off. Impossible. Moe, Air, what are you still waiting for? Murongde's face turned white. He had not expected that he would be rejected so relentlessly right there. Usually in such public occasions, Li Moying would give utmost face to him and absolutely would not make things difficult for him. Your wings have grown tough, so you're not even bothered about this master of yours, is it? Murong Fei, she is your junior sister. You two have been childhood friends since young and you have the nerve to be so unwilling to forgive her over a small misunderstanding. Moreover speaking, the main person who harmed you is Li Lingchuan. Fei was just being threatened, so just capture Li Lingchuan away is more than enough. Murongda was feeling extremely angry, hence the words he said out were extremely harsh. He increased his tone, thinking of using the past attitude to coerce Li Moying to listen to him. However, when Li Moying heard that, his face was still filled with a cold expression as he opened his mouth and said, Murong Fei had indeed not actively plotted against me, but she almost killed Lear. If the person she dealt with was me, on Master's account, I might be able to forgive and forget, but she actually dared to harm Lear. Li Moying's murderous intent in his eyes sparkled as his voice turned increasingly chilly. Lear's life is several thousand times more important than mine. I had once made a solemn oath that if anyone dared to harm even one strand of hair of Lear's, I will make them continue living, which is way much worse than dying, with no chance to ever get up again. His cold voice drifted all over the public square and everyone's face bore an extremely shocked expression. You can also listen on. Everyone present had more or less heard of the rumors of how much Li Moying pampered his fiancée. But no one had imagined that his feelings towards Huang Yueli had reached such a state. All the young ladies present turned their envious and jealous gazes towards Huang Yueli, who was standing behind Li Moying with only one thought in their minds: why is this woman so lucky? She could actually make a man like Li Moying to risk his all to protect her, not even bearing to let her suffer a little harm, not to mention just how much love and adoration Li Moying had usually treated her. Such an icy cold man to everyone else, was always showing her a gentle smile, which made any young lady who saw that wish that they could replace her. Huang Yueli's lips curled up, with no intention to hide the complacent smile on her face. No matter how much the other women liked her Moying, they had no chances at all. This man had been contracted by her many, many years ago. Li Moying's words had undoubtedly expressed his own stand, sentencing Murong Fei to death. Murongda looked at him in disbelief as his heart was infuriated to the max. From what he thought, if it wasn't for himself who saved Li Moying that year, no matter how talented he was, he would only be a dead corpse sooner or later. So Li Moying's achievements today were somehow linked to his credit, and Li Moying should know when to repay the favor. How could he kill Murong Fei over a woman who appeared from God knows which place? But the ability which Li Moying had shown today was simply so strong that even Cui Yuan Shan was defeated easily. Murongda naturally knew that he totally wasn't his match right now. This disciple who had surpassed the master had grown strong wings and had totally separated himself from his control. However, Murong Fei was still screaming and struggling. Murongda loved his daughter very much and simply could not continue watching this, as he couldn't help but spoke out again. Li Moying, are you really that heartless to totally ignore all the nurturing that Celestial Light sect had done for you all these years? Have you forgotten that when you were young and was pursued by killers, who was the one who saved you, and taught you to cultivate, supplying you with various resources? Saying that, he suddenly thought of something as he casted a vicious word. If you insist on taking action on your junior sister, then you will no longer be Celestial Light sect's disciple. Li Moying's gaze congealed slightly as he went silent for a moment, and then continuing to speak out icily, I have never forgotten Celestial Light sect's gratitude to me, but for so many years, all that I've done for Celestial Light sect is already enough to return the favor. If it wasn't for me, Celestial Light sect would probably not become South Sky region's #1 sect today. So my relationship with Celestial Light sect is considered settled. From today onwards, as what sect Master Murong wishes, I and Celestial Light sect will no longer have any relations. What did you say? Murongda looked at him with his mouth agape and tongue tied. When he said he was going to drive Li Moying out of the sect earlier, it was merely a threat, but whoever knew that Li Moying actually didn't hesitate at all and directly announced that he would cut off all relations with Celestial Light sect. What was he going to do about this? Li Moying was Celestial Light Sect's future hope. Now that he had already broken through to the 9th stage realm, it was the timing for Celestial Light Sect to fly into greater heights with him, but now he just cut off relations with the sect. What was Celestial Light Sect going to do? Murongda then realized just how stupid his threat was earlier. The situation now wasn't that Li Moying couldn't leave Celestial Light Sect, but it was Celestial Light Sect which needed him. But since this sentence was out, there was no way that he could rescind it. You can also listen on. Murongda's expression stiffened as he felt extremely regretful. He couldn't hope more than to take back his words on the shop, crying and pleading Li Moying not to leave. But this was simply too ugly, and no matter what, he was still a sect's master, a top exponent in 9th stage realm, so he really couldn't make himself pull his face down. Just as he was hesitating and couldn't make up his mind, Li Moying had already taken action personally, striking the noisily screeching Murong Fei unconscious, then throwing her to the shadow guards. His action was swift like lightning, and Murongda couldn't stop him in time. After Murong Fei had been tied up, he didn't loiter around as he turned around and held his little fiancée's hand, turning around to leave. When Murongda saw this, he couldn't be bothered if he lost face or not, as he hurriedly chased up with a trembling voice and asked, Moying, you're really going to leave Celestial Light Sect? Cut off all relations with Celestial Light Sect? Li Moying's footsteps took a pause as he replied in a clear voice without turning back his head, Isn't that what you wished for? I'm not. Murongda really wanted to explain himself, but his mouth was open yet nothing came out. That's right, Li Moying had indeed done everything that was asked of him for the sect, and he had also solved numerous prickly matters for Celestial Light Sect, gaining innumerable glory. But the him who loved his daughter had once and again ignored Murong Fei's ridiculous ways, even using the past day's gratitude to suppress Li Moying to request for him to forgive the things which Murong Fei had done. As what he wished, Li Moying had indeed given way many, many times. This made Murongda so pleased that he had lost his own sense of measure, thinking that his master had enough standing, enough to control Li Moying's actions. In actual fact, he had forgotten that for such an exceptionally strong practitioner like Li Moying, how could he possibly be threatened into doing certain things? Apparently in Li Moying's heart, he naturally would have a balance on each and every matter, which made him select the option of giving in. But when Celestial Light Sect demanded overboard on the gratitude which was given to him, he would automatically withdraw himself and unconditionally restrict the so-called gratitude, to stop all his actions. It was right until his moment when Li Moying finally realizing that his calculations had all been set wrongly. Alas, it was all too late. He sat despondently on the ground as he watched Li Moying and his group of men walking further and further away. However, just as they reached the entrance of the mountain, the young lady beside Li Moying suddenly stopped and tipped her toes up as she whispered something into his ears. Li Moying frowned, apparently not too willing to do so. But Huang Yueli hugged his arm and swung it vigorously, so under her strong stance of coquetry, Li Moying finally admitted defeat. Huang Yueli gave a brilliant smile as she pecked him on his cheek and raised her hand to call out for Yuan Xiu, giving him a few instructions. Yuan Xiu accepted the order as he walked through Celestial Light Sect's public square, standing right in front of Murongda. Murongda originally lowered his head in despondence, but upon hearing footsteps, he thought that Li Moying had turned back and instantly lifted up his head in high spirits. Moying, this master knew that you. On seeing the man in front of him was someone whom he didn't recognize, Murongda was slightly stunned. Yuan Xiu said in a clear, distinct voice, Sect Master Murong, my third miss has a few words which she wants me to convey to you. Third miss, meaning Moying's fiancée. Murongda frowned. Yuan Xiu didn't bother to make any explanations as he continued saying, Third miss says she wouldn't go to the extent of taking eldest Miss Murong's life, only going to let her take on the punishment that she deserved, so Sect Master Murong need not act in this way. You can also listen on. When Murongda heard that, a spark flashed across his eyes as though he had clutched onto the last straw, as he questioned relentlessly, really? She wouldn't harm Feyre's life. That's great, Moying pampers this fiancé of his the most, her words. Moying will definitely listen. Seeing Murongda heave a long sigh of relief, Yuanziyu silently shook his head. Apparently, Murongda doesn't understand this mistress of his. Otherwise, he absolutely would not be so happy, perhaps he might not even be able to cry out. According to Yuanziyu's slight understanding towards Huang Yueli, she indeed wouldn't let Murong Fei die, but she would let her suffer a fate living which was worse than death. But Yuanziyu naturally wouldn't remind Murongda about this. He cleared his throat and continued, Third Miss also said that Celestial Light Sect is after all the place where my master had resided in, so even if he left, he wouldn't not have any feelings for it. Master is a sentimental man, so if Sect Master Murong is able to find a suitable successor, in future if Celestial Light Sect runs into any huge trouble, Master he will not stand aside and do nothing. Will Sect Master Murong please consider this carefully? Yuanziyu left this meaningful word, then turned around and left. Murongda repeatedly thought about this for quite some time, and the glow in his eyes started to lit up slowly. Towards Huang Yueli's words, he had developed his own understanding as he felt extremely indebted towards her. Moying's fiancé is really a good person. Not only had she pleaded for Feyre, she even helped Celestial Light Sect speak up. AI, no wonder Moying likes her so much. As Li Moying and the others completely vanished from their sights, the entire public square started to clamor with voices of discussions. The show today was simply too astonishing. It had totally exceeded everyone's limit of imagination. Originally they thought that it was merely a coronation ceremony of a young sect master and all they needed to do was to be a silent spectator. Whoever knew that Li Moying suddenly came back to life and had even become a ninth stage realm top exponent. After exposing Li Lingchuan and Murong Fei's real faces, he left Celestial Light Sect in indignance. With all of these, every single matter was enough to become a topic of discussion at one's leisure. It was obvious that after today, not too long later, news of what had happened in Celestial Light Sect would have been spread throughout the entire South Sky region. Whereas Li Moying was merely 21 years old and had already broken through to the ninth stage realm would at first instance become South Sky region's top news. This kind of peerless expert which made one unable to look straight at him would henceforth be the focal point for the entire soaring heavens continent. Outside the sect entrance. Hearing Yuanziyu's report on completion of his mission, Li Moying took a look at the young lady in his arms with a smile which didn't look like a smile, satisfied now. Murongda really treats you like his jolly good person. But you're really just a sly little fox. Huang Yueli blinked her innocent big eyes. What's called, treat me like, a good person? I am really a good person all right. Tell me, which part did I say wrongly? Li Moying shook his head helplessly. No, what you said is right. Whoever dares to say you're wrong, I'll be the first to disagree with it. Huang Yueli's lips curled up as she smiled broadly while leaning over. That's right. Moreover speaking, isn't it all because of you? That's why I said this. Li Moying exchanged glances with her. Their hearts and minds were interconnected, hence he naturally knew what this young lass in front of him was up to. His brows rose as he opened his mouth. You're counting your chickens before they hatch, not knowing if someone is willing to listen to you or not. You can also listen on. Huang Yueli smiled. This is a solution which he could have his cake and eat it too. Why would he not agree to it? I know, he's your loyal and devoted junior brother, so don't worry, I'll persuade him when the time is right. Li Moying pinched her perky cheek as he gave a low laugh. All right, I'll be relying on my wifey to help me plan by then. Who is your wifey? Huang Yueli swept him a glance. She would not casually marry him just like that, all right. Even if she only had eyes for this man, but if Li Moying didn't bring out 120% of his sincerity to propose to her, she would not casually nod her head. She murmured, I only felt that you've been in Celestial Light's sect for so many years and have already set up a strong foundation there, so if you were to just give up like that, it was really such a pity. Furthermore, South Sky Region's forces originally belonged to Celestial Heaven's Gate, so this chance is hard to come by. She made it sound very vague, but Li Moying completely understood her meaning. He had been Celestial Light Sect's young sect master for many years and his foundation was very deep. It could be said that the entire Celestial Light sect was within his grasp, and furthermore, based on Celestial Light sect's status in South Sky Region, if it was used as a piece of chess in a suitable way, it could completely affect the entire South Sky Region situation. So Li Moying's leaving was really a pity, but now that he had broken through to the 9th stage realm, it was definite for him to head toward Sky Emperor City to gain more space for development, rather than to continue mingling around in Celestial Light sect. In this way, the only way out for him was to leave a suitable successor, to help him take charge of Celestial Light sect's forces, and at the same time become his agent for South Sky Region. The only choice for this person, naturally, was his 5th junior brother, Luo Jiyun. Luo Jiyun had always been loyal and devoted towards Li Moying, and furthermore, after Li Lingchuan and the others had all gotten into trouble, the only one with 8th grade talent was him, and in actual fact, he had already become Celestial Light sect's highest innate talent and strongest talented practitioner. For him to take over the position of Celestial Light sect's young sect master, naturally he was the choice for them to strike a balance in all aspects. Huang Yueli had made Yuanziyu told Murongda all these, was so that he could plant all these thoughts into reality. Actually, Li Moying had also thought of the same thing, but as he considered Luo Jiyun's feelings, it was difficult for him to stand out, but he had not expected Huang Yueli to be even more decisive than him as she immediately did so. He lowered his head and took a look at his smiling Lear as his lips curled up, with a slight tinge of sweetness and a little frustration. To have an interconnected heart and mind fiancé, everything he was thinking of could not escape her eyes. Then in future wouldn't he not be able to do a single bad thing at all? He was plainly most afraid of losing his freedom, but why was it that when he thought of it, it actually made him feel full of anticipation instead? That night, Li Moying led the entire group of them into Sky Cloud City as they settled down in a luxurious mansion within the city. This luxurious mansion was one of the properties under Li Moying's name, and he had first got the shadow guards to clean up the place, settling everything properly in advance. Huang Yueli had been in a state of unrest for this period of time. Firstly, she met with several dangers in Cloudy Chilan Mystic region, and later on they kept on hurrying back to Celestial Light sect to exact revenge. It was only until now that she had enough free time to soak herself in the mansion's huge warm sauna pool, enjoying her flower petal sauna bath. By the time she spent over an hour coming out from the refreshing bath which invigorated her skin, she discovered that Li Moying had gone missing. She took a tour around the rear courtyard and saw Li Moying sitting in the pavilion as he gazed afar, seemingly lost in thought. You can also listen on. Huang Yueli walked over in quick steps and hugged his arm as she looked at him from a slanted angle. Moying, what are you thinking about? Li Moying lowered his voice. I'm thinking of what I should do next. Huang Yueli blinked as she recalled something in enlightenment. That's right, I haven't asked you yet. What is our next step after leaving Celestial Light sect? Actually, she more or less had confirmed that their next destination was a 99% chance of heading towards Sky Emperor City. But for the exact next step, she wasn't too sure of it. Only knowing that if Li Moying wanted to go over to take a look, she would follow him with no second thoughts, no matter if it was to the ends of the world. But her fiancé had always been a determined man, so he definitely had his own plan. Li Moying turned back and took a look at her as he said, "We shall stay in Sky Cloud City for a few days first. In the past decade, I have quite a number of properties in South Sky region that needs to be handled." Following that, he paused for a moment and his voice seemed to add a few tones of anticipation. Following that, will be the time for us to return back to Sky Emperor City. Huang Yueli's entire body shook. Even though she knew long ago that Li Moying's choice was so, but when she really heard it, it still made Huang Yueli's heart undulate. Sky Emperor City. Soaring heaven's continent's core, where innumerable top-rated strong practitioners gathered. It was filled with opportunities anywhere and anytime, and at the same time, it was also filled with plots and betrayals. That was also the place where she had lived for the past decades in her past life. She had once been the existence of the most popular person in Sky Emperor City, and as the young palace lord of the mythical Flame Palace, she was an exceptional genius with 9th grade upper talent and also the #1 beauty who startled all the 4 seats in Soaring Heaven's continent, where innumerable light halos were placed on the top of her head. However, even though she had the achievements which so many people were envious of, later on when everyone mentioned her, the first sentence would always be, #1 top expert Mu Qingying's woman. Once, she disliked so much that she was casted this name by a man, as though all her hard work and achievements were all erased cleanly in an instance. But now that she had already died once, she felt that this title sounded rather flashy. Moreover, it could also push back all those women who were eyeing Mu Qingying. Sky Emperor City to her did not have many beautiful memories. That year when she was in the northern ice fields, she had suffered the attack of 3 different sects out of the 7 sacred lands. At that time her whereabouts were kept secretive and the only person who had sold her out was her best female friend, Celestial Heaven's Gate's eldest young Miss Ling Qingyu. That kind of devouring hatred remained deep at the bottom of her heart. Like the cold from the northern ice fields which had entered her bones that night had still not dissipated ever since that day. It was also this exact reason why she had been even more prudent this lifetime, putting on more defense against other people. This lifetime, other than Li Moying, she couldn't trust anyone else. Even though she didn't usually display it, but she often left a hand in secret. Furthermore, she didn't have many friends this lifetime, and all these were because of the psychological shadow which had been left from her past life. Because of that, the mere thought of returning to Sky Emperor City had Huang Yueli feeling various kinds of feelings welling up in her heart, so for a short moment, she was slightly dazed. Li Moying raised his hand and caressed her silky long hair as he said softly, "Lear, are you all right? I know what you're upset about. Don't you worry, I will help you get your revenge on the grievances in your past life one by one, absolutely not letting off a single one of them who dared to hurt you. You can also listen on." Huang Yueli lifted up her head to meet those brilliant, sparkling peach blossom eyes. Beneath those eyes was deep and tender sentiments, as though it would drown her within. In an instant, Huang Yueli felt her eyes turning moistened, almost crying out right there. Because she discovered that no matter if it was in her past life or current, no matter if she was in favorable circumstances or in adversity, the person who had stood beside her unwaveringly had always been this man. She hugged Li Moying's waist with increased strength, burying her face into his wide and robust chest. She blinked and tears seeped into the cloth material on Li Moying's chest. Li Moying didn't say anything much, only embracing her in an even more gentle and resolute manner into his arms. Sky Emperor City. To them, it was a place which was filled with memories. It took quite a while before Huang Yueli raised her head and said to Li Moying, "Thank you, Moying. I know you wholeheartedly want to protect me. But revenge is a dish best served cold. You need not be too anxious as well. After we reach Sky Emperor City, let's plan slowly. After all, things are no longer the same as before." Huang Yueli sighed softly. She was grateful to Li Moying for his willingness to give his all wholeheartedly, but she really didn't want him to take such a big risk just because of her own reasons. After all, the Li Moying now was not the same as the then Mu Qingying. He had just broken through to the 9th stage realm, and although his innate talent was much more superior than it was then, but it was still totally different as when he was in 9th stage realm peak condition. The difference in ability and battle power between 9th stage realm practitioners was actually extremely huge, and the disparity between the strong and the weak was a world of difference. Huang Yueli's past lives were all part of Sky Emperor City's largest powerhouses, 7 sacred lands, where all of it had been around since ancient times. Their inheritances had lasted for several hundred thousands of years, as the top exponents under them were innumerable. Even for the past life's Mu Qingying, if he didn't have a proper plan and just abruptly headed up, he would likely also suffer a disadvantage. What more now that his ability was a far cry from his past life, and that he had departed Sky Emperor City for more than a decade. Not knowing just how much force he would be able to gather back from the past, Soaring Heaven's continent's current situation was something which they weren't sure of. Huang Yueli absolutely would not allow Li Moying to take action under such a situation. Although she wanted very much to exact revenge, but after her rebirth, in her heart she was very clear that nothing was more important than Li Moying. As compared to his safety, revenge of whatsoever had all become small issues. Li Moying's heart was moved as the arm which embraced her grew tighter as he lowered his head to take a whiff of the fragrance of her hair while sighing softly. I know, Lear, do you think I look like a rash person? Don't worry, I won't do anything which I don't have any certainty of. As he was saying that, Huang Yueli suddenly had a strange and uneasy premonition. She suddenly raised her head and grabbed Li Moying's collar. Moying, you must promise me, no matter what situation you are in, you must place your safety in the first place, and you must always accompany me, staying beside me properly. Li Moying went into a slight daze as his eyes flashed past an astonished glint. Lear, had she detected something? Impossible, he had obviously concealed it very well. It could be said that to be flawless. Li Moying merely hesitated for a breath's time when he regained his senses and smiled. What are you worried about? I'm right by your side, isn't it? I will naturally keep you accompanied properly. After all, I've spent so many years before you finally nod your head to be together than me. You can also listen on. Li Moying's smile was extremely perfect, as that gentle and adoring attitude was exactly the same as before. Huang Yueli knew clearly that Li Moying was absolutely not some rash young lad. But she didn't know why she had an indiscernible feeling in her heart, as though she seemed to have missed out a very important matter. Li Moying saw her distracted look and frowned slightly as he lowered his head to plant a kiss on her cheek. Huang Yueli's face immediately flushed a bright red shade. Why are you moving your hands while we are talking? Li Moying innocently replied, I only moved my mouth. Since when did I move my hands? You're the one who is obviously lusting after my body. You hugged me so tightly, so aren't you laying your little hands on me? Isn't this called thief yelling thief? When Huang Yueli heard that, she immediately became gloomy as she raised her little fists, just about to incur domestic violence onto him. Li Moying could obviously evade her moves, but he just stood there obediently, allowing his fiancée to vent her anger on him. After a moment later, he grabbed hold of Huang Yueli's wrist and dragged her into his arms. All right, if you continue hitting me, your hands will start to hurt, and in that way, I'm the one who will feel heartache. He leaned close to her delicate fair cheek and blew some air on her in an ambiguous way. Following that, while Huang Yueli had not regained her senses, he leaned forward and gave her a deep kiss. A man's overbearing presence invaded her as that handsome-looking face was right in front of her eyes. Huang Yueli's heart was pounding wildly as her brain turned into glue. Other than obediently inclining towards the man in front of her and allowing him to kiss her willfully, she totally could not react at all, not to mention having the mind to think about any other things. This submissive her made Li Moying feel a passionate fire burn up within him, and plus the fact that she had just taken a bath which made her body give off a light rose scent, it was even more effective than any aphrodisiac. Li Moying kissed until he almost lost control, to the extent that he just pushed Huang Yueli onto a chaise longue as he buried his face into her slender long neck, following all the way downwards, planting deep strawberries, love bites. Huang Yueli didn't stop him because she felt very comfortable. Every time she laid in this man's arms, she felt as though she was turning into a puddle of water, totally unable to control herself. Eldest senior brother, I heard. A.H. A shocked cry was heard. I didn't know that. I'm sorry. I didn't see anything at all, I'm leaving, eldest senior brother, little sister-in-law, please continue to be busy. When Luo Jiyun got closer to them, he detected the ambiguous atmosphere in the pavilion and instantly understood why Moe and the others kept stopping him from entering this place. Unfortunately, he was just too rash and had given too much thought to their words. Now, it was too late for him to regret, as he could only bore the brunt of his eldest senior brother's murderous gazes as he turned around and scurried away in a jiffy. Interrupted by that joker, Li Moying turned around and sat up as his good-looking face was taut, bearing an icy cold expression. Huang Yueli raised her head and sized him up as she couldn't help but burst out, giggling. Li Moying turned back and started at that little fox who was gloating over his misfortune, but the latter wasn't a single bit afraid at all, as she intentionally smiled sweetly. Moying, why are you unhappy? Are you in a bad mood? Do you want me to give you a kiss? She's really a little fox who added oil to fire. Didn't she know that with the love bites on her collarbone, saying such things, what kind of effect it would cause? Li Moying's gaze dimmed, so proactive. Then let's return to our room in case we get interrupted by some little brat, you can also listen on. As he said that, he walked to the front of the chaise longue and stretched out his hand as he was about to carry her up horizontally. Huang Yueli immediately had a change of expression, and right before he could even touch her, she jumped up like her but was on fire. Alright, stop fooling around. Junior brother Luo came running over at this timing, must be because of that matter, we'd better hurry over to take a look at him. Li Moying laughed softly, why? Have the heart of a thief but no guts. Earlier who was the one who wanted to kiss me and comfort me? Thinking of just running away like that? Huang Yueli's face turned red, as she really couldn't hope more than to kick him. Mentioning the pot which didn't boil. Look at his ill-intentioned look, who dared to kiss him? What if she kissed him and it caused him to get heated up? Li Moying looked at her, biting her lips as her eyeballs kept roving around, and found it extremely amusing as he couldn't help but shot upwards like an arrow, pulling her wrist and wrestling her into his arms. Lear, it's not right to lie, especially to your fiancé. Since you've agreed to kiss, then you're not allowed to renege on it. Huang Yueli acted blur, renege on a debt. Since when had I reneged on a debt? I merely don't want to kiss already. Treat it like I owe you one for now. Owing and owning, and it would be forgotten. However, how could Li Moying not know about this little thing's tricks as he held her slender waist tightly and inched his face close to hers? Why not like this? You don't kiss me, but it'd be the same if I kissed you. When Huang Yueli heard the mellow and sexy voice around her ears, then looking at his long and thick lashes which were like a fan drooping down, her heart jolted as she started to feel a little dizzy again. But immediately she detected a flame in Li Moying's profound eyes, and this made the alarms in her heart ring as she hurriedly said, I'll kiss, don't come any closer. Li Moying's action paused and was just about to say something when he suddenly felt a warm sensation on his lips. His little fox had swiftly pounced over and swiftly nibbled him on the lips, then using force she pushed him away, thinking of withdrawing herself from him. Li Moying's lips curled upwards, knowing that this lass was going to come out with the same tricks. Using a chick-pecking on grains-like kiss to pacify him. Alas, a man wasn't that easy to deal with. After being tricked so many times, he had learned to become smarter. His body hadn't moved, but instead he locked onto her waist with slightly more force as he turned from guest into host, as he lifted up her chin and planted his kiss onto her once again. Huang Yueli had not expected her plan to fall through, as her eyes opened real wide and tried her hardest to push him away. Li Moying was hugging a wriggling, uncooperative little fox and had no choice but to dabble and stop, and not long later, he loosened his grip. Huang Yueli started hard at him. Quick, don't fool around. Junior brother Luo is still waiting outside, and if he doesn't go out, what will he think? Li Moying laid lazily on the chaise longue as he replied in an absent-minded manner, who cares what he thinks? Anyway, what he's thinking in his mind is the truth. Huang Yueli's face flushed a bright shade of red. She had truly been defeated by this thick-skinned man. She gritted her teeth and said, "Are you going out or not?" Li Moying saw his little fiancé exploding and could only give a light cough. I'll listen, let's go. But, can we wait a little longer first?" Huang Yueli went into a short blank, but immediately, her gaze started sweeping onto the horizontally inclined man lying on the chaise longue in a seductive posture, and her gaze followed all the way downwards from his half-exposed chest. "You can also listen on." She had to admit that this man in front of her was an excellent piece of work. Every single muscle line was just nice, so beautifully perfect that made one unable to shift their eyes away. In her past life, she thought that Mu Qingying was the most handsome man, but in this life, as he possessed God Clan's bloodline, his looks were even more breathtaking now. Huang Yueli's vision followed downward subconsciously. In an instant, her face turned even redder. She finally knew why Li Moying had refused to stand up. Because his bodily reaction was just too obvious, and with this state, it would be strange if he dared to meet anyone else. You. Huang Yueli simply didn't know what to say as she bit on her lips and gave him a stare, then slipping away immediately. Li Moying looked at her departing figure as he gave a bitter smile. This lass, indeed, had the ability to force one into insanity. She set the fire, and after realizing that she had created trouble, then ran off on her own, moreover bearing a look which looked like she was bullied by him. But even so, he was totally helpless, as he could only allow his little fox to throw her tantrum in whatever tsundra, presenting as unfriendly and blunt but warm and tender inside, way she wanted. Huang Yueli ran out of the pavilion and readjusted her clothes before she headed to the front lobby. Luo Jiyun had been waiting there for quite some time as Moe and the other shadow guards stood around chatting with him. On seeing Huang Yueli appearing alone, everyone's gazes all turned to her instantaneously. Not knowing if it was because she had a guilty conscience, she somehow felt that everyone's eyes were filled with ambiguity. She hurriedly gave a slight cough. Ugh, that. Junior brother Luo, why have you come over so late at night? Luo Jiyun heard that and hurriedly explained, Lil sister-in-law, really sorry. I really didn't know. Have I interrupted you too? This hot-headed lad had totally not noticed that Huang Yueli was showing an embarrassed expression as he was still apologizing non-stop. It was right until Moe pulled his from behind when he finally realized that something was amiss and hurriedly shut his mouth. Huang Yueli's lips twitched. You haven't interrupted. She paused for a moment and continued, you're here today, to look for your eldest senior brother regarding celestial light sex matters. Luo Jiyun heard that and kept on nodding his head, and at the same time he put on a pitiful look while pleading for help. Lil sister-in-law, please me to persuade eldest senior brother, ask him not to leave me here alone. I want to leave with eldest senior brother. Huang Yueli's brows rose as she looked at him. Why? You're not willing to stay on in Celestial Light sect? You probably aren't very clear yet, right? Among the current direct disciples in Celestial Light sect, there are just but a few top exponents left, and plus the fact that your eldest senior brother still had some power left around here, you only need to stay on and you will definitely become Celestial Light sect's young sect master. Actually, earlier Brother Moe had already told me about the stakes involved. But, I don't want to become a young sect master. I just want to follow eldest senior brother. Luo Jiyun persisted. Huang Yueli smiled slightly as she stared at him and continued asking, "Are you sure? Have you really thought through this clearly? Such matters cannot be decided so rashly, all right. You've also witnessed with your own eyes on how Li Lingchuan had tried to obtain the position of young sect master and expended so much effort, even plotting an audacious plan of murdering his senior brother, but eventually he still didn't get what he wished for. Whereas for you, you could easily take on the position of young sect master. Your eldest senior brother would also support you in future, so are you really not going to do it? If you miss such a good chance, there will be no next time again. You can also listen on." Huang Yueli reiterated this once and again. Actually, without her saying, anyone with brains were able to think of this as it was the next logical thing to do. Status and authority were just an arm's length away. However, Luo Jiyun continued to shake his head. "No, I don't want to be some young sect master, I only want to follow eldest senior brother." Although Huang Yueli had long known of his unyielding loyalty towards Li Moying, but his resolute attitude had even eliminated any sense of hesitation, which made one surprised. "Why? This is such a good opportunity, why do you choose to give it up? Haven't you considered that your eldest senior brother had betrayed Celestial Light Sect, running off to roam about in Sky Emperor City, but there are so many top experts there, perhaps Moying isn't even anything over there. He might even offend someone unknowingly, unlike you who could stay relaxed in Celestial Light Sect." Luo Jiyun lifted up his head and looked at him, but isn't the art of cultivation about pursuing challenges? Greedy for a peaceful life could not possibly bring out the potential within. Following eldest senior brother around indeed isn't as easy in Celestial Light Sect, but I believe that it would lead me to head towards an even higher cultivational realm pathway. Moreover, eldest senior brother wouldn't continue to be a nobody forever. Based on his innate talent, he would definitely become a somebody who could command the wind and summon the rain, so following him around is definitely not a wrong choice. Huang Yueli saw Li Moying walk over slowly from behind Luo Jiyun and couldn't help but laugh. "Moying, I really couldn't tell that this junior brother of yours really has unconditional trust in you." Li Moying grazed lightly over Luo Jiyun as he was apparently rather impressed. He muttered, "Since you have this thinking, then following me around is of no harm. But don't be like me to separate yourself from Celestial Light Sect. Tomorrow you will go over to tell Murong clearly that you're just temporarily following me to Sky Emperor City to go on experience learning and will return in future." "But, eldest senior brother." Luo Jiyun was rather astonished. "You've already left Celestial Light Sect. Why should I stay there for? I'm really not interested in the position of young sect master." Huang Yueli beamed as she spoke up for her fiancé. "You're not interested, but your eldest senior brother is interested. Moying's foundation which he had laid over the years, should we just let go of it like that? In future, we will rely on you to help him safeguard it, don't tell me you're not willing to do so." Luo Jiyun then revealed an enlightened look as he patted his chest to express that he would definitely follow eldest senior brother's instructions. After Luo Jiyun left, Huang Yueli pulled Li Moying back to their room, and the minute they entered the room, she pursued him for an answer. "You agreed to let Jiyun to follow you? Why? Could it be that you've already confirmed where we will be staying when we return to Sky Emperor City?" Earlier when Li Moying nodded his head in approval, even she felt surprised. She had assumed that Li Moying would not allow Luo Jiyun to stay in Celestial Light Sect, out of concern for his safety. Later on, having a change of thoughts, she understood it immediately. Probably Li Moying had already thought of a plan, hence he decided on this. Li Moying's arms were crossed as he lowered his head and looked at the young lady in front of him as his lips curled up. "You're so impatient to pull me back to the room, I had thought that, you're preparing to continue the matter earlier which you had not completed. Earlier? What matter? Huang Yueli blinked and suddenly comprehended as her face flushed red. You're so shameless. Stop with the rubbish and quickly tell me the answer. Li Moying then slowly replied, it's not considered as a plan, but since I was the sovereign of Blue Profound sect in my past life, naturally I will return to my own sect. You can also listen on. Huang Yueli's eyes turned wide open as she felt extremely surprised when she heard what he said. What? You want to return to Blue Profound sect? From what she thought, this was the most impossible option which Li Moying would take. After all, so many years had gone by and no one could be sure of the current situation of Blue Profound sect. So heading back abruptly might not necessarily be a good thing, in fact it might be very risky. Because Blue Profound sect as the #1 super powerhouse in the then soaring heavens continent had plenty of strong exponents and based on Li Moying's current ability, there was no way that he could resume to the same state that year, to suppress so many top exponents. At the very least, Li Moying's 4 great guardians under him were all much stronger than he was right now. Li Moying met her eyes and nodded his head prudently, that's right. He quickly followed up with an explanation, you don't need to worry too much. That year when I left Blue Profound sect, I'd already arranged everything that I needed to within the sect. Some days after we left the cloudy Chilan mystic region, I've also sent out a secret signal and obtained contact with Blue Profound sect. Although so many years have passed, there is bound to be changes within the sect, but I still have my own way to control the 4 great guardians, so you need not worry too much over this. Moreover, based on our current ability, to help you exact revenge, it's just too slow to do it step by step, so it's better for us to return back to Blue Profound sect first, so that we can speed up the process of our strength quickly. Huang Yueli naturally believed his ability and also believed that since he said there would be no problem, then there would definitely be no problem. But unknowing why, she somehow felt that something seemed wrong somewhere. But Huang Yueli frowned and thought for a moment as her eyes lit up and said, right. Last time when you were in Celestial Light sect, your soul detachment illness acted up and you regained most of your memories from your past life. Hadn't you said in the past that all the memories that is related to my self-explosion, you weren't really able to recall it all? How is it that you are able to remember what happened before you left Blue Profound sect? Your memories. Has it recovered completely? Li Moying's heart pounded wildly. He simply had not expected that Huang Yueli would be so intelligent to this step, to actually see through the truth which he had tried all means and ways to cover up. That was right, when they were in the cloudy Chilan mystic region, his illness acted up when he was on the verge of death, plus the fact that he was struck on lightning, all the memories came rushing back at one shot. By the time he regained consciousness, he discovered that he had recalled everything that had happened. Before this, no matter how he racked his brains, he totally couldn't recall anything from after Huang Yueli's death. That bit of lost memory had all returned to his mind this time round. But it was exactly because of this which was why he knew that, what exactly, was he about to face? Li Moying's thoughts turned swiftly. Although he was exposed earlier and had a slight instant of being dazed, but he quickly concealed his own loss of self-control. Lear, I also wish that I could recover all my memories, but unfortunately it's not within my control. I can only indistinctly remember bits and pieces of very small portions, basically just the portion on the agreement with the 4 great guardians. Huang Yueli frowned, really? So coincidental. Has this memory come back to you the last time your illness acted up in the cloudy Chilan mystic region? Other than this, what else can you remember? What happened after I self-exploded and why did you reincarnate and reborn as well? Have you recalled all of these? Of course he had recalled all of these, but Li Moying's expression was as per normal as he shook his head slowly, these. I can't remember it at all. I've tried several times, but the minute I try to recall, my head would hurt so much as though it was about to split open. You can also listen on. The minute Huang Yueli heard that, she immediately got tensed, not daring to ask any further. What? Why did this happen? Then you'd better not try to think about it, anyway. Anyway, from the looks of it, your memory is starting to come back to you bit by bit, so there's no need to force it. Perhaps when the time is near, you will know. Li Moying heard what she said and secretly heaved a sigh of relief. However, Huang Yueli thought of something as she hurriedly added on, that's right. That year, 4 great guardians were all your trusted aides. I think they would definitely know the situation then. When we reach Blue Profound Sect, we can interrogate each one of them, so perhaps we might be able to discover something. Cough cough, Li Moying's expression turned slightly pale again. Why was his fiancée so intelligent? It was practically impossible to defend against her effectively, it was simply too difficult to hide anything from her. Luckily she told him whatever was on her mind, telling him her plan so he should nip the problem in the bud before it happened. There were some things which he absolutely could not afford to let her find out. Li Moying hurriedly said, what you said is correct, as long as we reach Sky Emperor City, the truth will be out. Moreover, whenever I advance into another level, there is also the possibility of regaining my memory, so you shouldn't worry too much. Or is it that, if I didn't have these memories, you don't love me anymore? Huang Yueli rolled her eyes at him. What rubbish are you sprouting? I'm just worried about you. Somehow I feel that things aren't that simply. What on earth had you done in your past life? Why is it that you have also reincarnated and reborn? And why is it that after I've self-exploded, but I recollected all my senses? I simply don't understand all these. Li Moying sighed softly as he held her hand and said in a mellow voice, stop thinking about it. What matters now is that we're together, isn't it? To me, for this moment to come true, I'd be more than willing to pay any price for it. Huang Yueli raised her head and looked at him as her heart jolted, unknowingly on why an indescribable heartache started to make her tremble slightly. Lear, you're trembling, are you feeling cold? Li Moying immediately held her hands and took her into his arms. The two of them embraced tightly at a close distance. Taking a whiff of Li Moying's familiar and mild scent of a man, Huang Yueli finally felt a little better, as the uneasiness in her heart wasn't that much anymore. Only, these questions had been shrouded around her mind, just what happened after she self-exploded. Li Moying and the entire group stayed on in Sky Cloud City for close to 2 weeks, processing the properties and other important matters he had in Sky Cloud City. In between, Murong sent someone over several times in bid to retain Li Moying, but Li Moying's attitude was resolute as he didn't entertain him at all. Huang Yueli also took some time to settle some matters, basically to make arrangements for the place of residence for those servants whom she had taken in. The majority from Celestial Light Academy did not have much outstanding innate talent, and their achievements in the way of cultivation in future wouldn't possibly be too high. Hence Huang Yueli didn't force them to head towards Sky Emperor City with her, but to let them choose their own path. A portion of them chose to stay in Celestial Light Sect, and that included Su Qingyue. Huang Yueli handed Kai Wei and some other lower-level practitioners over to Su Qingyue to manage, allowing them to cultivate and manage the properties which she and Li Moying had left behind in Sky Cloud City. In future, when Luo Jiyun returned to Celestial Light Sect successfully with achievements in his cultivation, he might need the aid of these hidden forces to stabilize his own status. You can also listen on. As for Yuan Ziyu and some other practitioners with much better innate talents, they naturally didn't wish to stay on in Sky Cloud City to waste their time. They chose to head towards Sky Emperor City to make a name for themselves. After all, it was only in such an environment with strong practitioners which would allow them to increase their own abilities to the maximum degree. After settling everything, Li Moying and Huang Yueli then brought all their subordinates and left Sky Cloud City on a flying ship. A month later, the flying ship slowly got closer to the outer boundary of Sky Emperor City, and they were able to see Sky Emperor City's city wall from quite a distance away. This day, early in the morning, Luo Jiyun and the others dashed over to the deck of the flying ship and stood in a circle to watch as they all started to exclaim in admiration. Heavens, it's just too spectacular. I'd not expected Sky Emperor City's city walls to be the same as the legends. It's all built with aquamarine ceramic glazed tiles. Just how much money is this worth? It's rumored that on the outer boundary of Sky Cloud City, there's a god-grade city protection array left from ancient times, which is impenetrable. It's just too powerful. No wonder this place is the core of the entire Soaring Heavens continent. When Huang Yueli heard these country bumpkins giving off such exaggerated praises, she couldn't help but smiled. Although Sky Emperor City was just a city, but in actual fact, its size was almost the size of the entire South Sky region. Moreover, as the continent's core, for several thousands of years, innumerable top-rated geniuses had all brought everything they had, heading towards Sky Emperor City to seek for chances to break through and to establish their fame overnight. This tradition had been accumulating from generation to generation, hence it led to Sky Emperor City becoming the gathering of innumerable top exponents and also, astonishing wealth. Just how strong were Sky Emperor City's top powerhouses, and how wealthy they were, was something which those practitioners from desolated four sky regions weren't able to imagine. It could be said that for every practitioner who had just arrived to Sky Emperor City were deeply stunned, hence Luo Jiyun and the others' display wasn't too exaggerated at all. Li Moying looked at her weak smile as he suddenly recalled something, and a smile curled up on his lips. TSK, these fellows. Are they country bumpkins entering the city? To think that year, when I first arrived at Sky Emperor City, Huang Yueli's eyes shone as she immediately pursued after this topic excitedly. How was it? Your first time in Sky Emperor City, was it very silly and laughable? Huang Yueli suddenly recalled that Mu Qingying seemed to come from a desolate village, and although his master who fostered him was a top exponent in Soaring Heavens continent, but he had always been living in seclusion in the rural area to teach a few disciples. It was only until he reached 17 or 18 when Mu Qingying finally came to Sky Emperor City for experience learning. Huang Yueli grew up in Sky Emperor City herself, hence she had not felt that Sky Emperor City was a spectacular or outstanding place at all. But now she was extremely curious, wondering how it was when he first entered the city. Did he act the same as those youngsters who were making a big fuss out of nothing? Li Moying shot a glance at her in a smile which didn't look like a smile, but under Huang Yueli's impatient glare, he said a few meaningful words. I don't remember anymore. Huang Yueli's eyes opened wide. You, how dare you trick me? Impossible, I don't believe it. Such an important matter like your first time entering Sky Emperor City, how could you forget about it? This is the changing point of your past life, so you definitely remembered it. Have you done something embarrassing? Quick, if there's something unhappy that happened, tell me so that I can be amused by it. Li Moying looked at her in extreme innocence as he said, I didn't lie to you. I really don't remember it anymore. You can also listen on. Huang Yueli absolutely refused to listen to his gibberish. How could you possibly not remember? Even I remember it. That year, if it wasn't to join Sky Emperor City's Genius Tournament, which is held once every 10 years, would you have rushed over from the border? Moreover, at that tournament, you defeated various large influential powerhouses' top-rated talents consecutively to become the winner, which shocked the entire Sky Emperor City, hence you made a name for yourself ever since then. Such an important thing, how could you forget about it? Liar. Quickly tell me. She stuck close to Li Moying as she pestered him, asking this and that, determining that since he refused to say, then he must have done something embarrassing at that time. However, Li Moying continued to smile without replying. Instead, he turned around and pulled her into his arms while whispering ambiguous words into her ears softly. I've not expected that you remembered my matters so clearly. Looks like ever since that time, you've been paying attention to me, right? Then that time when I wanted to get acquainted with you, you still intentionally put on an arrogant look, not even looking straight at me in the eye. Isn't that a little too tsundere? Huang Yueli's face turned bright red. When did I? The #1 tournament in the world. That's Sky Emperor City's first-rate matter. I will naturally pay some attention to it. Moreover, the tournament came out with such a dark horse which had spread throughout the entire Sky Emperor City. It would be difficult for me not to know about it even if I didn't want to. What does it have to do with you? She would never admit that during the #1 tournament battlegrounds when she unintentionally saw Mu Qingying, she was also attracted by his demeanor like those ignorant young ladies. But very quickly when she saw a whole bunch of young missies from other sects crowding around him, the her who was still pure in the heart immediately plastered a Casanova label onto him, and in order to conceal the feelings that she had towards him, she intentionally pretended not to see him. Li Moying originally just mentioned it casually, but when he saw her face flushed red, he couldn't help but feel his heart pounding hard. Why? I've really hit the spot. Huang Yueli raised her head sunderly as she stared hard at him. Narcissism is an illness, you have to treat it. Saying that, she pushed him aside. All right, from the sound of their voices, it seems that we are about to reach Sky Emperor Zone, which restricts flying. Looks like we have to land soon. I'll go out and take a look. She disappeared like a wisp of smoke. Li Moying saw her escaping rapidly as he rubbed his nose, and the smile on his lips turned even deeper. He had not intentionally lied to Huang Yueli earlier because he really didn't recall what happened when he just entered the city. Actually, what Huang Yueli said wasn't wrong. That was the most important day of his past life, and by right, he shouldn't have forgotten about it. But after he entered the city, he immediately headed over to Sky Emperor City's largest inn to have a seat, and it was there when he first met the young palace lord from Mythical Flame Palace for the first time as she passed by. He had barely caught a glimpse of a passing beauty, and after that he forgot about everything totally. Not to mention that he had forgotten the other matters which had happened that day, even the matters which happened a couple of months ago. He totally couldn't recall clearly. He only remembered that he kept on cultivating with only one thought in mind, which was to let Huang Yueli see that he had enough power to protect her, a man who could satisfy all her vanity. She could only marry him. But these were something which he wouldn't say. After all, Huang Yueli had not admitted that she had feelings for him long ago, so why would he bring it out? The #1 top exponent had his own pride. Not too long later, Li Moying's flying ship landed in front of Sky Emperor City. There was no array within the radius of 100 miles outside Sky Emperor City, and they didn't allow anyone to ride on flying beasts or flying ships, nor utilize their flying profound skills. You can also listen on. However, Sky Emperor City's influential powerhouses weren't included within the restrictions, so occasionally there were still flying ships and falcon snow condors. But Li Moying had just returned, had not grasped Sky Emperor City's current situation, hence he didn't want to attract attention, so they chose to silently descend while preparing to enter the city through the normal procedures. Huang Yueli's right hand raised and kept the flying ship into the Sky Phoenix Ring. Ever since she advanced into 5th stage realm, Sky Phoenix Ring storage area had been upgraded several times, becoming larger and larger. Now it was about the size of a small village, so putting a flying ship in there was enough and had space to spare. But to be able to have the space to keep a flying ship, even in Sky Emperor City, was something which was rarely seen. Huang Yueli's move would inevitably attract the surrounding practitioners' attention. Huang Yueli didn't want to attract trouble, but such a large flying ship originally could not just disappear without a trace, so attracting others' attention was something which she couldn't help. Luckily, among their group included a 9th-stage realm top exponent like Li Moying, hence ordinary practitioners totally didn't dare to create any trouble. Even until they reached Sky Emperor City's towering city gates, Luo Jiyun and the others were still looking around curiously. "The few of you, please stay put and pay the entrance fee here. 1 high-grade spirit stone for each person." A guard stopped them. Luo Jiyun gave a shocked expression. 1 high-grade spirit stone for 1 person. This is daylight robbery. Moe and the others were speechless as well. 1 high-grade spiritual stone was equivalent to 10,000 low-grade spirit stones, enough to buy an inferior quality 3rd-tier profound armament, just to enter the city once. This was just too extravagant. However, Sky Emperor City had quite a number of gates and the human traffic every day would at least incur several hundred thousands. Wasn't this too profitable? When the guards heard their discussions, he couldn't help but creased his brows. He saw them coming over from a large flying ship and had thought that they were some wealthy people. Why were they kicking up such a big fuss over the entrance fee? "Gentlemen, here, this the regulations of our Sky Emperor City. If you don't pay the entrance fee, you cannot enter the city, please comply." Huang Yueli knew that this was the usual regulation and didn't say anything as she casually retrieved a handful of high-grade spirit stones from her space and handed them over to the guard. The guard counted the amount and realized that there was actually more, which should be tips for him. His attitude immediately changed and using an extremely polite tone, he continued, "Please head in ahead, gentlemen, welcome to Sky Emperor City." Luo Jiyun saw the guard's attitude which had switched from arrogance to deference as his lips twitched and couldn't help but mumbled softly, "Money can really make the devil turn the millstone." Huang Yueli turned around in amusement as she educated him, "It's just a high-grade spirit stone. Is it worth it for you to act in this way? Take this and be more generous in future, don't embarrass your eldest senior brother. Your sister-in-law, I am not lacking in money." Saying that, she drew out a money sack as she tossed it into Luo Jiyun's arms. Luo Jiyun took a look and his eyeballs almost fell out. The sack was filled not only with high-grade spirit stones, but an entire sack full of medium-grade spirit jades. Each piece was worth 10,000 high-grade spirit stones. Luo Jiyun's hands started shaking. "Sister-in-law, this is worth too much." Huang Yueli gasped with exasperation as she said, "Just hold on to it. In Sky Emperor City, there are plenty of chances, so most practitioners are extremely snobbish. If you want others to respect you, the best way would naturally be having enough ability. But now you're still lacking a little, so you cannot afford to be too petty, otherwise you'd be bullied by everyone." The few of them were just chatting when they suddenly heard someone calling out to them from behind. "You can also listen on." "Wait, the few of you, please hold on, you cannot leave yet." They turned back in astonishment and saw an entire troop of guards dressed in uniformed profound armor rushing over from behind them, stopping them in their tracks. Li Moying's elegant sword-shaped brows creased as cold intent flashed past his eyes. What's the meaning of this? Trying to find trouble? Huang Yueli could tell that he was about to fly into a rage and hurriedly jumped out to speak. "Dear sirs, we have already paid the entrance fee according to regulations, why do you still stop us?" The leader heading the team took out a sedge scroll and looked at it against the light. He then took another look at Li Moying and Huang Yueli, apparently making a comparison. Huang Yueli frowned slightly as she turned back and met Li Moying's vision. The both of them had the same suspicions. Could it be that Li Moying had caught Li Lingchuan away and the news had been sent back to Ling family so quickly? Further, Ling family's influence was so big and within such a short amount of time, they had managed to settle Sky Emperor City's guards to help them capture them. Logically speaking, it shouldn't be so. Although Ling family was said to be some top 10 clans, but the top 10 clans itself was an overstatement. In Sky Emperor City, Only the 7 sacred lands were the genuine super powerhouses, as their foundation was strong and deep with preeminent strength that no one dared to provoke them. Other than that, the others, like what top 10 clans, 8 large sects or whatsoever, were all self-claimed. Rather than saying that these were publicly acknowledged super powerhouses, they might as well say that they were the next in sequence forces which had gathered together to gain the right of speech. So in essence, even if the entire 10 clans grouped together, they still didn't have the qualifications to speak of a single word in front of Mu Qingying. Now just a measly last-ranking Ling family could actually control Sky Emperor City's guards? Somehow something didn't feel quite right. Although they were filled with suspicions, but the two of them were not feeling flustered. Sky Emperor City originally wasn't some place which was filled with pure and honest folkways, so if they weren't able to settle this small problem, then they can forget about continuing mingling here in future. But Luo Jiyun and the others were apparently frightened as they exchanged glances to see the terror in one another's eyes. Since when had they encountered such a huge disposition of troops? That time Cui Yuan Shan spoke of how incredible Ling family was, it seemed as though they were able to crush the entire celestial light sect with just one finger. Thinking of their entire group of entourage, there was only Li Moying who was in 9th stage realm. The others' abilities belonged to the middle and low classes in Sky Emperor City, totally unable to resist against them. We're done for, finished. Could they be from the Leng family trying to create trouble for us? I'd never thought that Leng Yifeng had such huge backing. Surely they won't really capture eldest senior brother, right? Shouldn't be that bad. Even Moe, who deeply believed in Li Moying, couldn't help but get worried when he saw this. Master capturing that fellow is logical and reasonable, not intentionally creating any trouble. Ling family cannot just be unreasonable. If there's really no choice. Anyway, since Li Lingchuan is still being locked behind in the carriage, should we just pass him over to Ling family? At least it's better than being locked up the minute we enter the city. Just afraid that Ling family's people refuse to give up just like that. Huang Yueli heard those discussions behind her as her lips twitched, thinking of going forward to educate them. But considering that the time wasn't quite right, she could only endure it as she kept her mouth shut. Just at this moment, after the team leader repeatedly verified the identity, he finally opened his mouth. May I ask, are you young Master Li Moying? You can also listen on. Li Moying replied without batting an eyelid, that's right, what can I do for you? Out of their expectations, the team leader didn't act like they expected to abruptly capture them. On the contrary, his expression was full of praise. So you're Master Li. Please kindly wait a moment longer, there's someone who wants to meet with you. The team leader's attitude was so humble, which made Huang Yueli and the others extremely surprised. Li Moying frowned as he sized up the drawing in the team leader's hand suspiciously. Who is it who wants to meet me? Can you reveal the identity a little? The team leader hesitated. Anyway, it's someone from one of the powerhouse in Sky Emperor City and definitely not someone who has ill intentions towards you, so please kindly wait a little while more. From the equivocal answer, Li Moying replied slightly impatiently, since the person coming is unwilling to reveal his identity, then there's no need for me to wait right here. It's rather late and today I've just arrived in Sky Emperor City, so there are just a number of things for me to settle. Apologies, but we'd be making a move first. To be able to let the most famous unparalleled top exponent in Sky Emperor City wait, other than his leer, there hadn't been anyone else yet. Looking at the team leader's expression, it shouldn't be Leng family who's seeking revenge this time round. Since that was the case, he wasn't too interested in finding out the situation, and he wasn't interested to act like a country bumpkin who hadn't seen the world to stay and wait for some influential powerhouse to meet him. Li Moying turned around to leave, and Huang Yueli merely shrugged as she hooked her arm around Li Moying's and followed up in quick steps. Luo Jiyun and the others apparently were slightly worried, but they too followed behind them closely. The team leader saw that he was about to leave and hurriedly chased after them, shouting out, "Master Li! Wait a minute, don't leave. The person who wants to meet you is really someone important in Sky Emperor City, and furthermore he is very sincere in it. This is absolutely a heaven-descended chance. If you don't stay behind and wait, then in future, it'd be too late for regrets." Hearing that, Huang Yueli seemed to have thought of something as her slender brows rose and a sliver of smile curled up on the corners of her lips. She raised her arm and her elbow knocked against Li Moying's as she gave a low chuckle. "I say, Moying," from the tone, "could it be that someone wants to—" Before she could even finish her sentence, a bright light flashed past and an imposing aura immediately swept across from their front. The few of them stopped in their tracks and lifted their heads to take a look. They saw an elderly man with a head full of white hair, dressed in luxurious apparel, standing right in front of the both of them as he sized Li Moying up with a beaming face. "Master Li, Miss Bai, don't be in a hurry to leave, all right? Just spend a little time having a chat with this old man, how about it?" Li Moying's expression was cold and solemn as he shot a fleeting glance at him but didn't say a word. Huang Yueli, however, had a face which showed that she was thinking as she sized up the elderly man in front of her. He was dressed in an entire set of tier-grade profound armor, and the sword which was hanging by his waist was an 8th-tier upper-grade profound weapon which looked acutely sharp. Even in Sky Emperor City, 8th-tier profound weapons were scarce, and in the entire armament guild, they would only produce several hundred pieces yearly. In Sky Emperor City, where there were plenty of strong practitioners, there practically wasn't enough to meet the demand. Hence, to be able to use an 8th-tier profound weapon reflected the status of someone very important in Sky Emperor City. In this way, the team leader really wasn't lying to them. The elderly man apparently didn't expect Li Moying's attitude to be so arrogant, but after he went into a slight blank, he didn't show any signs of infuriation, but instead he gave a smile. "Haha, Master Li is indeed, as what the rumors say, extremely haughty. You can also listen on. But based on your innate talent, you're worthy to be that haughty. In Sky Emperor City, youngsters with innate talent have the right to be haughty." The elderly man fiddled with his beard as he smiled and said, "Master Li, I truly have something important to discuss with you. How about this? Not too far in front is Sky Emperor City's famous tea house, Heavenly Aromatic House. Let me be the host and treat you all to some tea while we slowly discuss this matter. How about that?" Li Moying's expression remained indifferent as he said, "Apologies, I have something urgent on and have no time to have tea or whatever. If you have something really urgent, please do say it out directly now." The elderly man was slightly surprised as he had not expected that after he had shown 100% sincerity, he was still rejected by the other party. Honestly speaking, very few people would not dare to not give him face like that, not to mention that the person in front of him was a junior. The elderly man's heart started to feel discontented, but thinking that he had unintentionally received this piece of news. The young man in front of him had such outstanding talent that even Mu Qingying was left in this genius's dust. The elderly man's anger suddenly disappeared totally. He hurriedly said, "I've forgotten to introduce myself earlier. I am Feng Buzhong and I'm from the Feng family, one of the top 10 clans in Sky Emperor City. This time round, I'm here to represent my clan, hoping to recruit Master Li. As long as Master Li is willing to join my Feng family forces, you will be able to enjoy the clan's top-rated geniuses treatment, with all the cultivation methods or resources at your disposition." After the elderly man self-announced his clan, his words immediately caused bursts of exclamations. Sky Emperor City surroundings were filled with people and had always been crowded by a huge amount of practitioners gathering around. Earlier, when the team leader suddenly took out the portraits and stopped the entire group, that scene had already attracted quite a number of people to gather around. Especially when Feng Buzhong appeared, it attracted all the bystanders to stay put and crowd around. Hearing him say those words, some of them couldn't help but start to comment. This elderly man is actually part of the Fong family. Fong family is the leader of the top 10 clans and is an influential and famous powerhouse in Sky Emperor City. Fong Buzhong. Why does this name sound so familiar? Ah, I remember now. Isn't he the clan leader for Fong family? Why would he be here personally? Just what situation is this? Fong family's clan leader personally came over to the city gate to stop them, just to recruit this young man into their clan. Just what backing does this person have? Heavens, it's just too fascinating. Top 10 clans are not only powerful, they also have plenty of inheritances and usually seldom recruit members outside their bloodlines. This time round their clan leader actually personally came. Could this handsome man in front of us really be some peerless genius? But, what kind of genius is worth making clan leader Fong come out personally? There is a younger generation in the Fong family, who is a 9th grade mid-level genius. The crowd were whispering and commenting as they casted envious and jealous gazes onto Li Moying, all trying to guess his identity. To be recruited by Sky Emperor City's powerhouse to become the party whom the clan used ways and means to nurture them was the opportunity which every single young practitioner was searching for, even in their dreams. But most of them buzzed around for many years and were still unable to attain their dreams, to join a genuine strong powerhouse to obtain the inheritance. But now, someone had just entered the city gates and was recruited personally by the clan leader from one of the top 10 clans, so how could they not feel envious over this? You can also listen on. When Fong Buzhong heard the praises from the crowd, he couldn't help but felt complacent. Looked like Fong Buzhong in Sky Emperor City was also considered as an important character. Just standing on the streets like that and so many of them actually recognized him. This time round, just how influential Fong family was, surely Li Moying was able to understand that even without him to say it outright. Fong Buzhong fiddled with his beard as he smiled, "Masterly, we the Fong family has the utmost sincerity, so I wonder what you think of it." Li Moying's expression was unfathomable. Huang Yueli, however, almost burst out laughing. This time round it was already very clear. The guess which she had earlier wasn't wrong at all, this old man was here to recruit her fiancé. Not knowing where Fong family's clansmen heard about Li Moying's innate talent. Sky Emperor City's powerhouses had usually felt disdainful to even go take notice of the 4 Sky region's geniuses, wasn't it? But it was no wonder that Fong Buzhong was in a hurry to stop them at the city gates. If he was indeed clear on Li Moying's innate talent, then he naturally knew that for a peerless genius like Li Moying, the minute he entered Sky Emperor City, he wouldn't be someone whom a mere Fong family could afford to recruit. He absolutely must hurry over to cheat Li Moying into his hands before he understood the entire situation. Fong Buzhong was indeed flexible in his thinking. Alas, Li Moying wasn't some blur fool who had just entered Sky Emperor City for the very first time. On the contrary, he was Sky Emperor City's big demon lord. Fong Buzhong's calculations were all wrongly done. Clan leader Fong, I'm sorry and we appreciate your good intentions. But we have already arranged for these few days and have no intention to join any powerhouse yet, so we hope you can understand. Huang Yueli knew that Li Moying couldn't be bothered to deal with these sorts of matters, so she had to stand out to reply on his behalf. Fong Buzhong wouldn't give up that easily as he tried his best to persuade further. Masterly, our Fong family's inheritance has been around for 10,000 years and we have also occupied several ore veins in the outskirts of Sky Emperor City, hence the clan has a vast amount of resources, especially in terms of heaven-grade cultivation methods and profound skills. We also have a few ancient scrolls, so as long as you nod your head, all these are at your disposal. Huang Yueli curbed herself from laughing out. Clan leader Fong, we really don't need these. We really have something urgent and our Moying still doesn't have any plans to lean onto any powerhouse yet, so will you please let us through? How about this, now that we're considered as acquainted, when there is a need in future, we'll go pay you a visit. Feng Buzhong started to become anxious. What urgent matters do you have to handle? You've just arrived at Sky Emperor City and rather than going round in circles blindly, why not just join our clan? Feng family's name is everywhere in the entire Sky Emperor City, so no matter what you need to do, you will be able to get it done easily. What a joke. What was meant by going to look for him in future when there's a need? Feng Buzhong was just too clear that the minute Li Moying entered the city and got in touch with various powerhouses, there would be something strange if he chose to join a mere Feng family by then. Based on his innate talent which had surpassed Mu Qingying, wasn't it as easy as lifting a finger for him to join whichever powerhouse he wanted? Huang Yueli was not able to answer in time when Feng Buzhong suddenly thought of something and said, I know. You're in such a hurry to enter the city because you're worried of the Ling family coming to find trouble for you. Huang Yueli blinked and asked out of surprise, how did you know? Huang Yueli was surprised on how he got information on this matter, but Feng Buzhong had misinterpreted, assuming that they were really afraid of the Ling family. Feng Buzhong suddenly felt that he had grasped the crux of the problem. You can also listen on. He hurriedly said, Masterly, Miss Bai, both of you please be assured. I found out that you're entering the city today from the clan leader from the Ling family. Ling family wanted to take action against Masterly, so he asked me to help bribe the city guards to capture you. But he was instead lectured by me. For a genius like Masterly to be offended, how could you not exact revenge for it? Saying that, Feng Buzhong changed the topic. But, Ling family's people have apparently not given up. Perhaps they might find other ways to deal with Masterly. But Masterly, please be assured, we the Feng family definitely can deter the other top 10 clans. As long as Masterly is willing to join us, we can help to settle the Ling family's trouble. He said this with an impressive style. But actually, the meaning in his words had a threatening effect in it. What he meant was actually to hint Li Moying that he was already being forced into a corner. If he wanted to avoid Ling family from exacting revenge, then the only way was to join Feng family, otherwise Feng family would not bother about this matter. This move was well executed, and if they really didn't know the current situation which Sky Emperor City was in, they might really have fallen for his lies. Huang Yueli didn't know if she should laugh or cry, but she finally understood that it was Cui Yuanshan who had sold Li Moying's matters out. Seeing her own fiancé already showing an apparent impatient look, she hurriedly opened her mouth. Clan leader Feng, Suddenly, while she was still speaking, she was interrupted by someone. Old man Feng, you're a reputable clan leader, and instead of staying at home, why have you run out to the city gates so early in the morning? Just what are you trying to do? Following that, a burst of laughs echoed as a silhouette appeared at the entrance of Sky Emperor City. The person was dressed in a navy blue long robe, looking around 40+ years of age, and there were 2 blades of mustache on top of his lips, bearing the temperament of a scholar. But the profound energy fluctuations coming from him clearly told them that he was a genuine 9th stage realm 8 level practitioner. In terms of cultivation, he was above Feng Buzhong's. The minute he appeared, the surrounding practitioners couldn't help but started to gasp in exasperation again. That's Qing Zhenbua, Vice President of Soaring Heavens Merchant Guild's Qing Zhenbua. He is a famous character in Sky Emperor City's sky chart. Usually it's practically impossible to see him. Why had he appeared right here today? So he's Qing Zhenbua. I heard that other than the few who are in 9th stage realm peak, he's the next in line who's most powerful. Not only that, he has the huge backing of Soaring Heavens Merchant Guild and has easy access to profound weapons and medicinal pills. In terms of battle power, he's absolutely top-rated. I'd not expected that we would be able to see this legendary character today. What is he here for? Everyone had a puzzled look on their faces. Or perhaps, they already had a faint guess in their hearts but they weren't willing to believe that such a thing could happen. When Feng Buizhong saw Qing Jinhua appearing, his expression changed and it immediately turned extremely anxious and uptight. President Qing, these words of yours sound strange. I can be anywhere that I want to, so why can't I be right here at the city gates? How about you? Haven't I heard a few days ago that you're going into closed-door cultivation at home and not going to meet anyone? Why have you suddenly appeared right here? Could it be that you've already come out of closed-door cultivation so quickly? Feng Zhongbua's enmity was extremely obvious. Qing Jinhua saw that but merely cracked open his lips a little as he replied in ridicule, Clan leader Feng's question is so interesting. I'm here for the same motive that you have as well. You can also listen on. This really was whatever was feared would happen. Feng Buizhong's heart thumped wildly for a moment, not expecting that the news of the peerless genius entering Sky Emperor City would spread so fast. Even Soaring Heaven's Merchant Guild rushed over. Originally he thought upon hearing this news from Ling family and even bribing the city gate guards was absolutely the fastest and would definitely be able to lay hands onto Li Moying before everyone else. In the end, the development of things happened in the opposite direction of what he had expected. Li Moying was totally not easy to trick as he totally disregarded everything that he had said. And now precisely because he was delayed for a slight moment, even Qing Jinhua managed to reach in time. Soaring Heaven's Merchant Guild, which backed Qing Jinhua, was a famous and reputable large powerhouse in Soaring Heaven's continent. Although they were not part of the Seven Sacred Lands, but their forces in terms of retail outlets, auction houses and business transactions firms spread throughout the entire Soaring Heaven's continent, wielding a shockingly vast amount of fortune. Although Soaring Heaven's Merchant Guild didn't have that kind of 10,000-year-old inheritances from those large sects or large clans, but as long as they had money in their hands, there was always a way to get cultivation methods and resources, not to mention a vast amount of intelligence network. All these were something which the Feng family weren't able to match up against. On seeing Qing Jinhua appearing, Feng Buizhong knew that things were going to be troublesome. Indeed, Qing Jinhua shot a provocative glance towards Feng Buizhong and turned towards Li Moying. While sizing him up for a short moment, a sense of admiration flowed within his eyes. Master Li, I've been looking forward to meeting you for a long time. You're indeed a man of striking appearance, truly living up to one's reputation. Even if it was Sovereign from Blue Profound Sect then, he unfortunately wasn't able to match up to you now. This was the highest compliment. Blue Profound Sect's Sovereign Mu was exactly Mu Qingying himself. If it was any other ordinary practitioner, upon hearing such compliments, they would not be overly excited but rather shocked overboard. To be compared to Mu Qingying. If their innate talent wasn't enough yet being raised to such a high platform, it was simply akin to shortening their lifespan. But Li Moying didn't reveal any excitement nor shock, merely narrowing his eyes as he said softly, President Qing, you've overpraised me. Huang Yueli threw a gaze towards him and knew what exactly he was thinking. Qing Jinhua actually used Mu Qingying as a topic. Although what he said was indeed the truth, but if it was 15 years ago, no practitioners in the entire Soaring Heavens continent would dare to treat Mu Qingying with any kind of disrespect. Not to mention having the rights to even use him as a topic. But Mu Qingying had disappeared into closed-door cultivation for 15 years and all those astonishing things that he had done then had long been forgotten by most people, otherwise in the yesteryears, even if Qing Jinhua wanted to die to say such things, no surrounding practitioners around him would have the guts to listen to him talk. Thinking of this, Huang Yueli's lips uncontrollably curled a little. No matter what, the big demon lord had already returned to his kingdom, and moreover his innate talent was much higher than before. She wondered if those large powerhouses which were ready to make trouble found out about this, would they be shocked to death? Qing Jinhua didn't realize that something was amiss as he continued speaking. Masterly, let me introduce myself. I'm Qingjinbua. I'm guessing that you must have heard of my name before. The wealth of Soaring Heavens Merchant Guild is something which I imagine that I shouldn't need to explain further. We are not lacking in money, nor resources. As long as you're willing to join Soaring Heavens Merchant Guild, we will definitely utilize the entire guild's power to provide you for cultivation. No matter what kind of condition you raise, how many medicinal pills, spirit stones, profound weapons, cultivation methods, we will be able to satisfy you. Soaring Heavens Merchant Guild had wealth which spoke louder than others, and just this opening from Qingjinbua had immediately turned Feng Buzhong into dregs. You can also listen on. Feng Buzhong only mentioned about giving Li Moying the utmost top-rate genius treatment, but Soaring Heavens Merchant Guild was different. The minute they opened their mouth, it was to fulfill whatever demands he had, appearing relatively superior as compared to anyone else. Not only that, when Qingjinbua swept one glance at Feng Buzhong once again, he continued, furthermore, no matter what problems does Masterly have in Sky Emperor City with whichever forces, we will be able to resolve it. I just heard that Masterly seemed to have accidentally killed some direct descendant of the Ling family. This is just a small matter which could be appeased with money, so Masterly need not worry about this. When Feng Buzhong heard that, he almost coughed out a mouthful of blood. Earlier, in order to make Li Moying feel grateful towards him, he intentionally made the Ling family sound as though they were very incredible, as though settling this matter was a difficult task. In the end, this Qingjinbua actually made this sound so simple, as though it could be settled with just a wave of a hand. In this way, under comparison, didn't it mean that his Feng family was much worse off than the Soaring Heavens Merchant Guild? A matter which they found it difficult to settle, to Soaring Heavens Merchant Guild, was just a small matter which wasn't even fit to be mentioned about. This was simply trying to be clever but ended up with egg on his own face. Feng Buzhong felt extremely furious and immediately stood up as he stared angrily at Qingjinbua. President Qing, this is just too much. Everything should be done in order of arrival. Masterly is the person whom we Feng family had taken interest in, and you suddenly popped out like that. What's the meaning of this? Poaching someone from other sects publicly is the disruption of the society regulations. No matter how much wealth your Soaring Heavens Merchant Guild has, surely you can't be that unreasonable, right? Whoever knew that Qingjinbua couldn't even be bothered to look at him straight in the eyes as he continued to persuade Li Moying. Masterly, how is it? Do take a moment to consider this. You should be very clear that based on your innate talent, it was a sure thing that your existence in Sky Emperor City is definitely top-rated. But in order to speed up your cultivation even quickly, the amount of money that you need to burn would be much more. Even if it was a powerhouse like the top 10 clans, they aren't able to come out with so much money. Only we, Soaring Heavens Merchant Guild, have this ability. Feng Buzhong blew his mustache with his eyes wide open as he really wished that he could send this Qingjinbua who had cut right in, a flying kick. Alas, he could only blame himself for not being fast enough and for not showing enough sincerity, even thinking of using the least price to trick Li Moying into joining their family. With the comparison right now, even an idiot would know that he would choose to join Soaring Heavens Merchant Guild. Li Moying listened to Qingjinbua finishing his words expressionlessly before he started to open his mouth calmly. I thank both of you for thinking highly of me, but as what my fiancé had mentioned earlier, we have no intention to lean towards any powerhouse for now. My apologies. Qingjinbua's expression stiffened, apparently not expecting that he had actually been rejected. This young lad really didn't know what he was rejecting. Feng Buzhong, however, heaved a sigh of relief as he almost laughed out. So what if Soaring Heavens Merchant Guild was rich and overbearing? Weren't they also unable to settle this matter? Qingjinbua did not give up as he continued, Masterly, don't come to a conclusion so quickly. How about this? I'll invite you over to our guild's treasure pavilion to take a look. You can decide after you've as Qing Zhenhua was endlessly trying to persuade him, suddenly, they heard gasps of exclamations coming from the crowd. Quickly look. What's that? Quite a number of people heard that and looked over, and immediately following that, they all started screaming in shock. Heavens, that splendid violet heavenly palace's flying ship. It's no wonder they're one of the 7 sacred lands in Sky Emperor City. Only a super powerhouse like this could steer their flying ship in the Sky Emperor City skies so arrogantly. Strange. From the direction of that flying ship, it seemed to be flying towards our direction. You can also listen on. Under the astonished gazes of the crowd, that huge and luxurious flying ship flew above everyone's heads. The flying ship lowered slightly and a silhouette flew downwards, landing right in front of Li Moying. The man had a head full of white hair and he was holding on to a walking stick in his hands as though he was so old that he almost couldn't walk. But when Qing Zhenhua and Feng Buzhong saw him, their expressions changed and bowed slightly as they cried out, "Elder Gua." Even Li Moying and Huang Yueli were astonished. Because this elder Gua's name was Gua Zhenqing, someone whom the both of them knew. 15 years ago, he was already one of the famous 9th stage realm peak practitioners from splendid violent heavenly palace. This old man's character was extremely arrogant and they had not expected that he appeared at this place. Could it be that he was here to recruit Li Moying as well? Li Moying and Huang Yueli exchanged glances as they both had the same helpless thought in their minds. Originally they were thinking of sneaking into the city to grasp the situation of Sky Emperor City first. Whoever knew that, they had just entered the city and had thoroughly become famous. This was what's known as causing a sensation in the martial arts circle, startling a great number of people. Among the crowd, there were apparently even more people who recognized Gua Zhenqing as their discussions became even louder. Furthermore, even more people now looked at Li Moying as though they were looking at a monster. Elder Gua from splendid violent heavenly palace. Soaring Heavens Continent Sky Chart ranking number 12. This is one of the top exponents behind the scenes in Sky Emperor City who wouldn't reveal himself easily. He actually came here as well, surely it can't be that. He's also here to recruit that what masterly right? Surely not right. Impossible right. Elder Gua's backing is one of the 7 sacred lands splendid violet heavenly palace. 7 sacred lands. Just what kind of place is that? Even if it was a peerless genius with 9th grade talent, he also had to pass through various assessments like ordinary practitioners before he could join them. Unless this Master Li is a 9th grade upper talented genius. Ha! What kind of joke is that? Can you even believe the things that you said? 9th grade upper talents genius. In the past 100 years, there were only 2, Mu Qingying and Huang Yueli. But, earlier when that President Qing praised Master Li, he seemed to have mentioned that his innate talent was comparable to Sovereign Mu. What? How is that possible? Anyway, I'm not going to believe in that. Elder Gua must have another motive in his trip here. Splendid Violet Heavenly Palace had never actively recruited any genius before. The crowd refused to believe, which was understandable. 7 sacred lands were different from ordinary large powerhouses. All of them, without any exception, had ancient inheritances and the number of top exponents under their wings had accumulated since 10,000 years ago. Just a mere immature genius was commonly seen, so how would they even treat him as something? Plus the 7 sacred lands sang their own praises of their statuses, they wouldn't possibly lower their heads to go beg anyone. Not to mention Li Moying, who was just a newbie who had just entered Sky Emperor City. However, different from the surrounding ordinary practitioners, Qing Zhenhua and Feng Buzhong were silently anxious because they were very sure that Gua Zhenqing's motive was 99% the same as theirs. Those so-called peerless geniuses, in splendid Violet Heavenly Palace's eyes, were indeed just like that. But Li Moying was different. Just 20 over years old and had already broken through the 9th stage realm stage. Just what kind of innate talent was that? It was a shocking piece of news, which made one frightened to even think carefully along this line. That year when Mu Qingying broke through to the 9th stage realm, he was almost nearing 30 years old, and that had already caused a huge commotion throughout the entire soaring heavens continent. You can also listen on. But Li Moying was much faster than Mu Qingying by such a large margin, completely leaping upwards in one shot. It was imaginable that it would take at most 5 to 6 years for him to promote into 9th stage realm peak, perhaps even surpassing the once #1 top exponent Mu Qingying. After some time, what would his achievements be? Would he become the first practitioner to break through the 10th stage realm and ascend to God realm, after so many years since the fast change of heaven and earth during ancient times? This kind of genius had already surpassed everyone's imagination, and in front of him, even the 7 sacred lands weren't able to sit still. Feng Buizhong and the others felt the anger within. But they didn't dare to say it. 7 sacred land statuses were very high in Sky Emperor City, and the strength of their ability was something which the people outside the city could hardly imagine, hence he was someone whom the both of them could not afford to offend. Moreover, since Splendid Violet Heavenly Palace's people were here, they would definitely have no chance anymore, so they could only watch with their eyes open as Guozhenqing abduct them away. Guozhenqing was a man who was even more particular than Feng Zhenbue and the others, hence he didn't personally go up to fawn on Li Moying. Instead he brought along 2 sidekicks. A young man behind him took quick steps up ahead as he cupped his fist into the other hand and said, "Master Li, I am Wenikai, a direct disciple from Splendid Violet Heavenly Palace." He paused for a moment, waiting for Li Moying to express a shocked and adoration look. Whoever knew that the crowd around them were already gasping in shock and astonishment, but Li Moying merely cast at him a look which was cold and distant, not knowing if he had heard what he said or not. Wenikai's expression turned slightly ugly, as he had not expected that Li Moying to actually be that conceited. No matter how strong Li Moying's innate talent was, but he was after all a direct disciple of Splendid Violet Heavenly Palace. In the future, when Li Moying joined their Heavenly Palace, he was considered as his senior brother. How could he not give him face in such a manner? Wenikai was infuriated, but he remembered that he was acting on Guozhenqing's instructions, to treat this peerless genius with extreme deferential treatment, hence he forcibly controlled his own temper and continued to speak to him in a pleasant countenance. "Master Li, my master had passed by today and heard about your matter. He had always been interested in young men with great innate talent and wanted to have a chat with you, so I'd like to trouble you to come over with me to meet him." Splendid Violet Heavenly Palace sung their own praises of their statuses, so the words which they say out were unlike Soaring Heaven's Merchant Guild to be so mercenary, outright and straight. They had not even said anything about recruiting Li Moying under their wing. But whoever present would have understood that this was Splendid Violet Heavenly Palace's way of expressing their good intentions towards Li Moying. For a moment, everyone was filled with envy. Heavens! Elder Gua had really come for this Master Li. To make Splendid Violet Heavenly Palace's elder come over to recruit him personally, just what backing does this man have? Don't know, I really don't know. This is the first time I've seen this man appearing in Sky Emperor City. If he was some old man in Sky Emperor City, he wouldn't absolutely be some intricate nameless youngster which no one could recognize. So today must be the first day that he had entered the city. First day entering the city, and he already attracted Splendid Violet Heavenly Palace's attention. Just what kind of innate talent does he have? Really, when one is compared to another, one would die from it. Great innate talent, and able to join one of the 7 sacred lands, this Master Li's future is limitless. When Wenikai heard these discussions, he somehow felt slightly imbalanced inside. Speaking of that, he himself had 9th grade lower innate talent, and that year, he had begged shamelessly, passing several rounds of assessments before he was able to formally become a disciple to Guozhenqing as his master, but now Guozhenqing actually came over personally to take Li Moying as his disciple. This young lad looked very young, with his hair not fully grown yet. You can also listen on. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.